Let's say you've got a maximum budget of £22,000 and want a stylish diesel hatchback. Well, you could get yourself an Audi A3 Sportback, a BMW 1 Series or a Mazda 3.
This is the Skyactiv D SEL version of the Mazda 3 and it costs from £21,145 on the road. Alternatively, for £21,360 you could have a BMW 116D SE, or for £21,445 an Audi A3 Sportback 1.6 TDI SE.
So these three cars are pretty evenly matched on price, but what about performance? Well, I think a little drag race will help answer that question, don't you? And just so you know, I'm driving the Mazda. All too easy, got a great start there. And then just disappearing into the distance. Yeah. This is a little bit embarrassing really. It's been left for dead. See you later, Germans. This car is just so much faster than those two. Well, that result was pretty conclusive, wasn't it? And there's actually a very good reason for it. You see, the Mazda has a 2.2 litre diesel engine with 150 horsepower. The BMW has a 2 litre diesel engine, only it has 116 horsepower. And the Audi, well, it only has a 1.6 litre diesel with even less power than the BMW.
Now I know what you're thinking, the more powerful Mazda must use a lot more fuel than the other two. Well, no actually. The BMW returns a claimed 68.9 miles per gallon and emits 109 grams per kilometre of carbon dioxide. Despite being significantly faster, the Mazda also returns 68.9 miles per gallon, yet is cleaner with emissions of 107 grams per kilometre of carbon dioxide. The Audi, however, is the most efficient here. It returns 74.3 miles per gallon and emits 99 grams per kilometre of carbon dioxide. But is this slight improvement over the Mazda worth enduring its sluggish performance? No.
Now it's time to put the boot in. Well, check out the car's boots as we compare them for practicality and see what they're like for carrying stuff.
The Audi leads the field here, but once again only by the narrowest of margins. It has the largest boot capacity with the seats up and a movable floor to minimise the load lip and give you a flat low bay with the seats folded. The Mazda also has a flat floor with the seats folded, and the total load volume is the largest of the three cars here. But with the seats up, it marginally trails the Audi's boot for space and lacks its useful adjustable floor too. You don't get one with the BMW either. Plus, it has the least volume of the three cars whether the seats are up or folded down, making the 1 Series the worst for carrying luggage.
Now it's time to see how rear passengers are catered for, and we'll start with the BMW and check it out. Right. Okay, so actually in here, headroom's all right, but knee room, it's really limited, and I think people over 6 foot are going to find it a bit of a squeeze back here. Now, as a point of reference, I'm 5'11", and we're going to check out the Audi now and see how I fare in the back of this one. Yeah, instantly it feels more roomy. Headroom's good again. Knee room's much better than in the BMW, and I think adults will be fine in the back of this car. Now, in each of these cars, I've actually put the driver's seat in my usual driving position, just so we get a fair comparative test. Now, finally, the Mazda. I should point out that in this car, it does have ever so slightly less headroom than the other two because of that sloping roofline, but it's not bad. I've still got plenty of space, but knee room is a lot better. And overall, I have to say, this car does feel the slightly more spacious of the three.
The Mazda also feels the most roomy in the front. What's more, the cabin looks and feels sporty to sit in, while the infotainment display is clear and can be operated by a dial or by touching the screen. It's just a shame that the plasticky dial surrounds look a little bit cheap. The BMW also has a very sporty feel, though it's been on sale the longest and the interior design is now starting to look its age. Still, it does feel very well built and the infotainment system is easy to use and the screen nice and clear. The Audi has a cool pop-up screen. Unfortunately, on this SE model, the low-definition display looks old-fashioned. Other than that though, the A3's minimalist interior feels the poshest because all the things you touch just ooze quality.
Or should that be perceived quality? Because actually out of the three cars here, the Audi ranked the lowest for reliability in the 2014 Auto Express Driver Power Owner Satisfaction Survey.
It came 30th, whereas the BMW was 12th, and the Mazda, better still, in 11th place. However, in terms of the overall ranking in the survey, it was the BMW which fared best, followed by the Audi and then the Mazda, which still came a very respectable 24th in the survey, which looks at a wide range of factors, including the driving experience. So, how do these three cars drive?
Well, this Audi, it's an impressive all-round package. In this particular trim, it's very, very comfortable. You don't notice any bumps in the road at all. Though be warned, if you go for the more expensive models, the higher spec versions, they have stiffer suspension and bigger wheels, and then you do start to notice the bumps. However, those will put us over our 22 grand budget, so I don't know why I mentioned that. Sorry, I just thought you should know.
The A3 has nicely weighted controls, it goes exactly where you point it, and the handling is very secure. You'd never call it particularly exciting to drive, it just goes about its business in a very precise, efficient and unflappable fashion.
It's a very quiet car too, it's got great sound insulation. It's just let down in this particular case by the 1.6 litre diesel engine because it's noisier and rougher than the other engines in the range, and so when you accelerate, yeah, you definitely know you're driving a diesel, and that just spoils the ambience somewhat.
The BMW is quite different to drive than the Audi, as it injects an element of fun into the proceedings. It also stands out in this class for being the only hatch of this size to be rear-wheel drive.
This setup is designed to give you a more engaging driving experience because the rear wheels, they just concentrate on providing the power. The front, all they have to think about is the steering, and as a result, the car feels nice and responsive, it's sharp, and it is fun to drive.
Despite its sporty setup, the BMW suspension still delivers a smooth, comfortable ride, even on bumpy roads. However, there are a few things which slightly spoil the driving experience.
The 1 Series' manual gearbox isn't quite as slick as you'd expect it to be on a car such as this. And another thing I noticed is that the pedals are slightly offset, so you feel a bit twisted behind the wheel. And as with the Audi, the engine, when you rev it, it's quite noisy as well.
Like BMW, Mazda is well known for building cars which are fun to drive regardless of whether they are hatchbacks, SUVs or sports cars.
Mazda seems to sprinkle just a little bit of MX-5 magic into every car it makes, and I should know actually because I own an MX-5, and the way the 3 has this snickety, lovely gear change, the brakes have loads of feel, and the steering, well, the steering's excellent, it's really responsive. That all just reminds me of how my MX-5 feels to drive. For every little input you make, no matter how small it is, you get a response from the car, and it just feels alive and agile. And I think that if you're the kind of person that enjoys driving, you will enjoy driving a Mazda 3.
But is it more fun than the rear-wheel drive BMW? Well, it's a close call, but in this particular case, the Mazda's more powerful engine just gives it the edge.
As with the other two cars, this Mazda 3 isn't 100% perfect, but then, you know, nothing in life is it? And in terms of the downsides, well, while the ride is generally comfortable, it deals well with lumps and bumps, and, you know, the seats are really nice. You do notice that over those broken surfaces, it does fidget around a little bit compared to the Audi, which is a little bit more composed. However, I'd take that feeling of being connected to the car over the numbness of the Audi any day, because this is overall, I think it's a more pleasurable car to drive. One thing that I do notice though is that this Mazda 3 doesn't seem quite so well insulated from outside noise as the two Germans, but once again, it comes back at the other two with its engine, which is so much quieter. In fact, the way this revs, how smooth it is, I mean, listen, you can't hear it, can you? It's actually like you've got a petrol engine, not a diesel, and it makes the other two sound like they're running on gravel.
In terms of safety, the three cars are closely matched. However, with its smart city brake support fitted as standard across the entire range, the Mazda is the only car here which can automatically apply its brakes at low speeds to minimise the impact if it thinks a collision is imminent. You can pay extra for a similar system on the Audi, but one's not available on the BMW. And that brings us on to equipment, which is a bit of a non-contest really, as the Mazda 3 wins hands down.
This SEL version of the Mazda 3 comes loaded with standard kit. For instance, it's got climate control, I've got xenon headlamps, there's rear parking sensors, there's folding side mirrors there. I've also got an auto-dimming rear view mirror, and handy on a day like today, I've got heated seats. Now, if you want the BMW with the same amount of kit as this Mazda, you're going to have to fit some options. In fact, you're going to have to fit around £2,500 worth of options. In the case of the Audi, you're looking at around £3,000 worth of options.
And don't forget about the performance test earlier. You'll need to spend even more on the two Germans if you want them with the more powerful engines to match the Mazdas. And that rather neatly puts things into perspective.
These three cars are all very good. However, at just over £21,000, this Mazda 3 2.2 litre diesel SEL is just so much better value than the BMW 116D SE and the Audi A3 Sportback 1.6 litre TDI. Now, I should point out that the two Germans will hold their value better come resale time than the Mazda, but don't let that put you off, because overall, what you're getting for your money in the first place with the Mazda 3 is just too hard to ignore.